one.
Let's do this!
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. All that matters is that you are here. My name is Toffes. You can find me at Toffees TV, and this is the inaugural, if you don't count the informational episode we released yesterday, episode of The Drop. So I'm joined by some guests that we invited for this, a couple of people from all over the scene. We've got casters, we got streamers, we got competitive players. The format of the show is simple. We're going to spend about 40 minutes just talking shop. We don't want to go too long, so we want to make sure you get all the information you need to get your PUBG fix on when you're at the gym or on the drive. So what I've got is a timer set up right now, and we're going to keep these topics to about 10 minutes. That way our long-winded asses don't become a problem, and we can move on to the next one without too much trouble. So that's the theory behind the show. If you have different ideas, let me know. You can tweet it anytime, and we are available. We're out right now on iTunes, as well as Stitcher. You can find us on both sites under The Drop Cast or The Drop. Easy search, just put in The Drop. It'll pop right up. So go check them out, download the show. We'll be on YouTube usually a half hour after this episode ends. And of course, we do it live because if something crazy happens, we want you to be able to see it. So no fouls. If it goes wrong, well, we're in it to win it. So let's do this thing. My guest today, we'll start here on the top right above me, is none other than Choco Taco Games. Now, you may not have heard of him because he's been sort of blowing up a little bit. Hit Reddit, I think, what, 2 or 3 weeks ago, right? And then all of a sudden, everyone went, holy shit, this guy knows how to kill people. I hope that the FBI is not watching. Kill people in video games. But Choco Taco, you were on the leaderboard, I think, for most kills in third person before you moved to first person. Am I correct, or am I not remembering that correctly?
Yeah, that's correct. Correctamundo.
So this man kills people. We're going to call him Jake because I feel silly calling him Ice Cream as we chat back and forth. But Jake should have some good insights on what it's like to sort of play from a streamer's perspective. Next to him is Tempo Valiant. What do you want us to call you during the show, Val? I think you muted your mic somehow, so let's go back and see if we can.
There you go. Hey, I got it. Valiant or Val works, either one.
Cool.
I'm fine with either.
So Val are you team captain for Tempo?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got, we'll find out in a second. Are you shot caller or just captain? Or is it the same thing?
Shot caller, yeah.
Nice. So we got our shot caller for a team that's competed in some pro tournaments. And we got a couple of tournaments coming up over the next few weeks that you guys are jumping into. So we can plug that a little bit. So we got a pro player. And then down on the opposite side of me is probably the, the guy wearing a t-shirt, kind of bad lighting. No, I'm kidding. This is Cameron.
The lighting's better. I fixed it.
Cameron has been casting for pretty much every event that's gone on. He was at Gamescom doing mediocre interviews. No, I'm kidding. I have to give him a hard time because we work together in the same agency. So Cammie D cast with me. In fact, he and I will be live on Awesome. I think you're going to do it with me, right? The opening day?
Maybe.
Fuck it. If not, hey, Awesome, sorry, he's doing it with me. So we're going to be casting opening day together of their new Premier League. So that'll be a lot of fun. So make sure you check that out on Sunday. That said, enough of the plugs and all the other stuff. Asus, Razor, you guys are cool. Let's jump right into talking about our topics today. So first one, I think hopefully you guys have had time to try it. The patch came out, right? We knew it was coming. It hit the test servers. Because we're addicts, I assume none of us sat at home and didn't play it. We all probably downloaded the test server patch and got involved immediately. Let's start with the obvious one, Fog. What do you guys think about it so far?
I dig it. As far as a competitive perspective, I don't think it's ever going to be considered just because it completely changes the shape of the game. You already see Rain being completely taken out of competitive events as well. I think it's going to be with those. But as far as just like matchmaking, just playing casually with your friends, I think it's really fun and enjoyable. Whenever you land in the middle of a city, it just makes you feel like you're in the middle of Silent Hill. And yeah, sure, maybe it's not fair because just the way the vision goes and you can easily round a corner and someone's suddenly there. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's nice to be thrown in every once in a while when you're just playing with some friends.
Is this game fair? Tempo, you play pro. Is this a fair game?
This game, honestly, it's a lot more fair than people think, I think. This personal game.
So what do you think about the Fog? You think that that's something that can be competitive, or is it just too effed for sniping?
Yeah, it's crazy. I think it's a good adjustment, like add to the game for like casual players or people having fun, because I was playing it on stream the other day and I was trying it out. And it was fun just to play, like the eerie noise in the back. I can see how people have fun on like ultra settings in the fog. People are like 50 meters away from you and you can't see them at all. In competitive play, there's no way. I assumed it to be a little different because the post that Player Unknown posted, it was kind of a little like hazy. It didn't look as thick. But now if you're like 50 meters up on a scaffolding and you look down, you can't even see the grass. Like it's bad.
Yeah.
But it's fun to play just for.
It feels like it might get softened up before it hits the live servers. Chaco, did you have any thoughts on the fog?
Yeah, I mean, not anything new. I think I don't like it personally, just because I think Cameron hit the nail on the head when he said it's not fair. It's just a little. It's way too thick. The fog is. It's crazy. I mean, it's fun, I guess, but like for people who are more competitive, I don't think it's as fun because like if you're just not looking in the correct direction, I mean, you could be looking all around you, like in an open field all the time. But if you look the wrong way and someone comes from like just over 100 meters away, you're just going to get shot, and there's nothing you can do about that. So it seems a little bogus to me. I was excited about it initially, but I think they just need to make it. I think they can adjust it. I don't know if they can do that, but I think if they make it less thick, it would be pretty good.
For sure.
Do you want?
Go ahead. What?
Maybe.
Does anybody else hear that weird sound?
It's a robot.
Yeah, it's a robot.
Okay, I think Cam froze. So yeah, he's definitely not moving. If we look at the video, it's actually pretty entertaining. You might want to try to refresh or reconnect. I don't know, Cameron. That said, though, patch is interesting. I think that you're right. Now, Cameron brought up that a lot of rain isn't in competitive play right now. Is that something that you guys also support, that rain shouldn't be in ranked matches or comp play?
Well, in ranked matches, I guess, but I mean that they're called dodge matches. Like if we get into a ranked game and that we're grinding leaderboards, we're dodging the rain games. Same thing with the fog. But in competitive play, in tournaments, I think there's only been one tournament ever that's had a rain game, and it's gotten nothing but complaints because the rain. So on the test server, I think it's a little different because now that they added a fog map, I think they reduced the fog in rain games, but rain games have natural fog in them. So at certain distances, people could be prone, people could be certain areas, and you can't see them. But the biggest thing about rain games is the noise. I think if they tone down the noise of how loud the rain is, you can probably see it in some competitive play. It's just now it's like you can barely hear a car hitting your building. Like but other than that, I mean, it's not playing in competitive. But if they make a few adjustments, I can see it.
Okay. Fair enough. Do you dodge those too, Chaco, when they pop up?
Almost always.
Nice.
It's too loud. It is way too loud. I mean, it is just like I have to have my Windows volume all the way up and my headphones almost all the way up when I play this game to actually hear everything that I need to hear. And having having the rain is just like sitting there for 35 minutes with that noise is just like I'm going to be deaf in a few years.
Right.
So I had some suggestion someone in my stream that was really good. I think they should just make the sound less, but it would be cool if they made the red zone like heavy rain, loud heavy rain instead of bombs or something. They need to do something to it. It's just way too loud.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree that like everything from the drop to the sky. I mean, when I play pickup squads, I just tell people don't even talk to me while we're dealing with the plane stuff. Throw your markers down and leave me alone because it's just too ridiculous. Yeah. So definitely interesting. We don't want to spend too long on this whole thing, but so let's go to the new cities. We got Stalber, and I forgot the name of the new city just to the north of that. Have you guys dropped there? Do you think it really even matters in the grand scheme of things, these two small towns?
Yeah, I dropped there today. I don't know. I was kind of talking about this in my stream earlier. It's like, it's cool and it's pretty big, and I got a lot of really good loot there, but there's very few flight paths that make it so you can drop there. And I mean, you're on a corner of the map. There aren't a lot of vehicle spawns. And like, I was crossing my fingers that there'd be a garage, but there's no garage. I think that was a mistake. I think they should put a garage in because if you like, we know the circles now are crazy. So if you land there and the circle doesn't favor you and you don't find a vehicle, well, you're not going to have a good time. So
right. That's true. Though I will say I've had one finished circle in that area of the map, and it was an awful lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah,
you gotta get lucky, right?
Right, exactly.
Did you, Tempo? Did you try to go into those garages that they put up there? I don't know if you guys know this. There's an elevation, so you can't get into the garages to loot without jumping first, which has
oh, I didn't see that.
No.
It's result. I got a quality. I got a good start. I had a UMP in front of me. I had two guys coming from the opposite direction. I was like, easy 2 kills. And then, I didn't jump. I ran into it 3 times going, what the hell?
Dang.
And then some guy shotgunned to the face.
I didn't know that.
Dude, that's what, I mean, isn't that though one of the things that I love about, how do you explain that? I love some of these moments about the game were like, yesterday I slid to a stop in a Jeep and was like, I'm gonna jump out of this thing and wreck these guys.
Yeah.
And I like fell to my death in a wall. It was just like the whole team's just laughing like, yeah, that makes sense. It's kind of a weird beauty. Why do you think that's appealing to players?
I don't think it's appealing to players. I think it's appealing to the players watching the players that get that done to them.
And so we all
That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Do you mind if I touch just real quick on the fog, like rain thing? Just a quick statement on that because I forgot something. So the biggest thing about the fog in the rain games, honestly, in competitive play, is that you can't see where people are flying when they get out of the plane. Mm-hmm. You can't see people's pass, and you can't So if you're going near like West Coast, for instance, and you're hitting a compound, you want to see exactly which other compounds people are landing at. So you know which path to take so your car doesn't get blown up or whatever. And in fog and rain, it's not possible.
That makes sense. That was it. And it just puts you in a really tough position running. And also, I was shooting at a guy earlier. He just walked backwards 5 meters and was gone. I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Houdini. Yeah.
So like, I hate getting Ninja Vanished on, but that makes it even worse. Have you tried out the new gun?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a really good gun. Honestly, I think. People say it's like when a couple of the pro players are saying it's broken. I don't know if it's broken. I think it's literally the M16. Yeah. I think it might be a tiny bit faster, like maybe like 5 points faster, but I think it is the M16. Like I'm a heavy advocate. I use the M16 like crazy. It might have a little less recoil off the jump, like without any compensator or anything, like just straight up measuring them. It might have a little less recoil, but there's no burst feature. Obviously, it's 20 bullets, but 20 bullets you can kill anybody with. It's not a big deal. I don't know if it's broken. I think it's a really good gun, though. And the travel distance, the bullet speed is insane. So
I looked at the numbers, and I think if I got it right based on preliminary, the M16 is still a little bit faster because that's like a 905 or something, and I believe
it's 900. Yeah.
Okay, and the new one is 805 or 810, so it's slower, but it doesn't feel that way, right? Like I was just tearing people apart with it today, going, this thing with a silencer is impossible to beat.
810, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it could be wrong. Obviously, it came out today, so we're sort of just like people are picking out the numbers as best we can. But it also, though, it has a significantly higher damage. The damage was ridiculous.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. It does more damage.
I didn't read that. I didn't check the thing because what was the damage on it? Do you know?
I don't know. I haven't even seen. I don't even know if anyone knows. But it definitely. I'm not sure. I think it might kill in 4 hits. Mm-hmm. I think it might be similar damage to the SKS. Yeah, I mean, I don't think through level 3 armor, but
if that's the case, then that's pretty nuts. 4 hits, that's pretty crazy.
I could be wrong, but I killed a couple people with 4 hits, and getting shot by it, I died a couple times with 4 hits. I don't know if maybe I had level 1 vest or what, but
I think that you are correct. That they'd say I can pull it up in just a minute. I'm just trying to adjust everybody. Cam came back, so welcome back, Cam.
Hi.
I gotta get these cameras fixed back real fast. There we go. We're all back in the right shape. No biggie. Life happens. Internet. We rolled back net neutrality. So F us all. This is what happened. So the new gun is pretty beefy. It sounds like a lot of people love it. But I mean, Cam, didn't you say earlier today you were talking or read some stuff from pros who thought it was not as good as the M16?
The one who I've seen have the most dislike of it was Scoon from Liquid. Who doesn't like it, just thinks that it's a weaker version of the M16. Basically for the fact that he claimed that it was the same damage. I think he may have even said dealt even less damage in the M16, and that tacked on the fact that the bullet speed was slower means that there was no reason. Like it's just a lesser version of the M16. The M16 is superior in every way. But you guys are all saying that the damage is actually higher. A couple of sites are listing it as or tracking it as having higher damage. So maybe he could be incorrect in that aspect, which would maybe balance it out.
Yeah, so if I find that, I'm sort of looking as we do the show, because I did see a spreadsheet that somebody had sort of put together. We'll go back to that, but I don't want to spend too much more time on it. Anybody have any last thoughts about the patch so far? Is it where you want it to be? Is there something you want to see changed? I'm gonna try to push this over to the devs to take a look at the show, and I want to know, is there something else that you think needs to be adjusted before it goes live?
I don't know. There's a couple cool things like that. I don't know if anything needs to be adjusted, but there's a lot of cool things. By the way, there is actually like north of the town Kameshki, which is the new town. North of it, there's actually a car spawn. Like there's a garage.
Oh,
okay.
Sweet.
It's just a little bit north of it, but obviously now, since a while ago, they didn't make those car spawns like 100% car spawns, so you might not get a car. but it's just a higher chance. But the biggest thing about the patch that I want to say that kind of got overlooked, I guess by people who aren't playing in like high tier tournaments, is the decrease of FPS with a bunch of cars in a small vicinity. So like they said they made it so it's more optimized. So if there's like 10 UAZs in a small spot, you don't drop to 15 frames. And in like tournament play with players who know how to survive everybody, you're stuck 5 zones in with 60 people.
Yeah.
And there's like, the second the new circle comes up, everyone's rotating to line up their UAZs as a shield if it's any an open field, and you're on 10 frames and you can't play the game. So hopefully that fixes it. I don't know, but that's like a big thing for us. That was like our biggest thing.
It definitely feels more optimized. Like I definitely was more comfortable. I didn't have any clay buildings today when I loaded. I didn't have any. I had a couple of server hiccups, but that's a test server thing. So it felt good to me. I don't know. All right, so we're gonna move on to the next topic. Before we do, though, I did find the preliminary spreadsheets on what we think the raw data is with MK14, and it's looking like a 60 base damage, so a little bit higher than the SKS. A fire rate of 666.7 and a muzzle velocity of 853.
Higher damage than the SKS.
Five more, but I mean that's a big deal when you're talking about putting that in early rounds too. And then M16 is only 41. So when you talk about the same gun, that's a pretty big difference. 19.
That's a crazy difference.
Sorry, what happened? What did I didn't catch that first part. What you said the damage of it? The new gun, the Mini 14.
The base damage is 60. So 19 higher than M16.
The Mini 14 is 60 damage.
That's what it's coming in.
Yeah, but that's like with no. That's like that damage is like no armor or anything like that.
That's raw.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's gonna get dropped to like be dropped in like 45.
It looks like it drops to 42 at level 1, 36 at level 2, 27 at level 3, and then limb damage is 30.
Yep, so that's 4 shots. Yeah.
God.
I mean,
headshots 150, 105, 90, and 67.5.
Oh wait, 1 shot's a level 1 helmet.
Yep.
Okay.
Really? That's insane. That's actually unreal.
So
okay, that's broken. If those are the right numbers, I don't know if they're the right numbers, but if they are, that is actually unreal. Because that's 12 damage less than a Car 98. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So it's a well, I was looking at the numbers compared to like the AWM even, and it's just incredible how good it is for a world spawn that seems to come up a lot. So something to consider, guys. Let's move on to the next topic. We'll keep up with the patch stuff on the show, kind of roll from there as new things come out, but I think that we covered most of what's new and what should be pretty interesting here. Here's a fast topic that I'm curious about your guys' opinions on. We probably won't spend the full 10 minutes, but this has been a darling of Reddit and every other forum in the country since they started talking about it, and that is the idea of banning stream snipers. Do you think that that's a fair thing? Do you think that that's something that should go away now that we're big enough that we don't have to defend streamers? Like, any thoughts? I'm just curious.
I think that it's incredibly difficult, if not outright impossible, to prove stream sniping. And the easy fix is play on a delay. So I think that you can easily go on a delay. You cannot. I may even go out on the limb and say it's impossible to actually prove someone's stream sniping unless you actually tell them that they are. Some people argue that the only reason that someone's chasing down someone is because they're stream sniping. Like, you could just be chasing down someone because you know that they're a streamer and you want to kill them because it gives you some like bragging rights on the internet. And that's been used. The fact that people have been focusing on streamers, that's been used as as basically evidence as, oh, they must be stream sniping because why else would they be doing this? Which is just absolutely terrible argument. I think that was actually the argument used about the stream snipers that were banned earlier against Shroud / Summit. And so which I think is just a terrible amount of evidence to ban someone from a game. Just play on a delay.
Before I ask you guys, I did want to clear this up. I went over my spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet we're using is labeled M14. So I do want to be clear that there's a possibility that it might have been the MK14. Yeah. And it might have just been like a mislabel by the spreadsheet. So we'll double check that.
Yeah, that is. You're right.
I think that's what it is.
That feels like the MK, doesn't it?
Because because that 1 shot's the level 1 element.
I will, however, say I know for a fact that I was 3 and 4 shotting people with the Mini 14 today earlier. So it's still a really powerful
probably does
gun.
like 45, 46 or something maybe.
That would make more sense, but it also feels like you should use a laser beam once the compensate is on there. All right. So, Chaco, you're a streamer. I mean, this is something that you enjoy doing. I think you got your partnership just recently. So, congratulations on that, by the way.
Thanks.
What do you think? Do you think I should enforce this, or is it your fault for showing your map?
I was going to say the same exact thing Cameron said. Like, you can't prove it unless, like, you have, like, audio of the person saying, I was stream sniping this streamer at this time. Like, they said they took data and saw, like, players rejoining games over and over to get in the game with specific streamers, and then they would kill them in the game or find them in the game. Well, I mean, great. I don't know. You can't ban someone for that. I don't think you can't prove it still.
And even to that end, like, I think when you were doing your top leaderboard play, I was in like the mid hundreds, and I was playing while I watched your stream, and I would keep having to close the stream because I'd pop into the loading area and be like, "Oh, Chaco's in this one too," and close the stream and then come back. But the point is, I think I had easily 15 to 20 games with you that I saw you on the kill feed, but I never once saw you in the field of play. So it's another thing where it's like, yeah, maybe we're joining, but there's only so many people at high ELO, right? Like, they're gonna keep ending up in the same damn games.
Right. Right.
Val,
So-
do you have anything you want to add?
To the stream sniping talk. Well, yeah, I'm not too sure. You can't really like straight up prove it, but there are certain scenarios that it might be justified. Like, for instance, I was playing with Raynad, and we like played like 10 games, and this dude was literally, we killed him probably 9 out of the 10 games before he killed us one game. And all 10 games he was with us every single game.
Gotcha.
Like, even one of the games he was like, we squad wiped the team, and then our UAS was parked because we parked it just to run up to the team, like, and breach their compound. We go back to the car and the dude's sitting in the back seat. Like, come on. Like, there are certain times that it's like ridiculous, but obviously there's certain times that I see like big streamers that it's like people bridge camp them probably like 10 seconds past the blue, like on a bridge camp or whatever. Let's say they're coming from military and they get killed off a bridge camp and oh my God, stream sniping. They're camping us in the blue. But that happens all the time. Like, even me, like, if I know a team went military and I know there's no way they went to the East Bridge, I'll camp the blue for like maybe 20 seconds because the first blue doesn't do any damage.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's like, I don't know. There's certain times that they die stream sniping and that's it. But yeah, I don't know.
It's worth taking the damage if they bring you a silencer.
I mean, no. With the example that you gave about you killed him 9 times, nine games straight before the 10th when he finally got you. Yeah, that's a big pile of evidence. But I still don't think that would be enough to ban someone from a game that they rightfully paid for.
Wait, did they ban them or I thought they just timed them out for like a day or something?
Ban.
Straight ban? I didn't know that.
I think it's a 7-day ban. I think if it keeps happening, you get a straight ban. But I mean, still, like, you bought a game, and this is a game that is much like many other shooters, a game of time spent, right? So, like, if you're gone for 7 days, you fall behind the skill curve in theory, and have to fight your way back up. I mean, this does have a skill curve, not as much as some other games that I've played, with leveling involved, but it's still, the more you play, the better you get. People with 500 plus hours are performing a hell of a lot better than people who installed the game, and play casually. Which, speaking of that, let's talk a little bit. I think that is fine for stream sniping. First person plus third person. So a lot of things have changed recently. They added in the first person, and sure, we've got all kinds of people angry about, well, it's not in my region and all that fun stuff. And I feel bad for you guys, I suppose. But I've noticed, like, Chaco, you were a third person dynamo. You're now playing first person almost exclusively. Val, I'm curious to hear what your thoughts on this are. First person versus third. Let's just put it out there. Is one better? Is one better in certain situations? What do you think about it?
It's called number one for a reason.
Yeah.
So I got 2 first-person acolytes here, which is expected. Val, what do you like to play? Let me ask you this. What do you like to play competitively, and what do you like to play when you're just dicking around with your friends?
Well, I think the first person's fun. I mean, if I'm just messing around with friends, I might just play first person, maybe. I'm just practicing first person a lot right now because that's where it looks like the competitive scene is going. That's where it looks like the community is headed. They're obviously pumping out stuff for first person. Leaderboards are coming out Thursday. I am for third person, and I think it's the overall consistency of the game. There's a lot of points in it. In the future, I might like first person. I just think one of the players put a good point that I talked to the other day. It's a beta inside a beta. So there's a lot of stuff wrong with it, and there's a lot of stuff that's wrong with the game that it hits first person way harder than it does third. Do you want me is it my turn to just like go?
Yeah, go on, go off.
I'm
hear
happy.
this. Go.
You
Yeah,
agree
I want to
with me,
hear it.
so
I want to hear it.
everything you got.
Okay. Okay, so I could go on for a long time, so I'll just kind of narrow it down. Third person, just the pros and cons of each. Third person, obviously you gather more information. Something I want to get corrected here is people say, oh, in third person you could gather the same amount of information in first person. It's just that you have to put yourself at risk to gather that information. Like if you're inside a compound, you have to peek the window to gather that information. In third person, you could just sit behind and you can spot certain things without taking any damage at all. So obviously you can gather the same info, it just takes more risk, which is not true at all. Because in first person, if you've ever played first person, you can just 80-80 strafe past the window and no one's hitting you. If people 80-80 strafe in this game, they're spiking. The movement is not as fluid as a game like Counter-Strike or Overwatch or something like that. It's definitely made huge improvements, and I give a round of applause to the devs because they're doing a really good job. It's just not there yet. That's why it's still in early access. If you 80-80 strafe past the window, nobody's hitting you.
No, it's hitting you, but you are seen and your location is known.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, like people can tell if a compound's taken. There's cars parked outside. There's certain you can scope in a window, see one of the doors open. You can always tell if a compound's taken. 99% of the time, at least I don't know. I can. It
requires more time to suss that out because what if you're coming from an angle that makes the vehicle hidden? What if someone is doing their due diligence inside and keeping all the doors closed, especially mid to late game, which is
you shouldn't be coming from that angle, Cam. You should be coming from a different angle.
Well, okay. So there's a lot of things about hitting a compound in third person and first person. There's a lot of compounds that have blind sides. There's a lot of compounds that have a solo window that can spot you, so only one guy can peek you at the same time. You scout compounds at certain distances. There's certain compounds that are safe compounds to scout, and even in garage buildings, you can tell if a car is parked inside if you scout it correctly. And like if you're gonna hit a compound, sometimes like in high tier play, if the circle's small enough, you're hitting it regardless if people are there or not. So it doesn't really matter. But there's the biggest thing about third person is gathering info when you're in field endings, when you're in tree endings. And my biggest gripe about the information aspect is, for instance, in top tier play, when there's 60 people in a zone, cars are moving, 60 people are rotating off the next circle, you're at 10 frames. Imagine playing Counter-Strike at 10 frames. You're not going to have a good time. So what happens is if people are spiking around, like this isn't a justification for third being better than first. It's a justification for the game not being ready for first. Like in third person, you can peek around a corner on a tree and you'll see the guy spiking, like because it's 10 frames or the dude's lagging out, and you can compensate for that. Like as like, okay, he's spiking like this. So if I peek him, I know the timing of the spike or whatever it may be, and I can get the kill. In first person, if you peek with a shotgun or whatever it may be, the dude's spiking around and now you're dead because you're like, you see him and he just teleports and he kills you. There's a lot of things wrong with it. For instance, in first person and high tier play, like vehicles aren't as strong because one, you can't even see out of the vehicles. That's a big gripe about first person. You can't see out of vehicles like at all. Like if you're going up a hill, you're looking straight into the sky. Like you cannot see anything. So if there's a guy on that ridge, you're dead. So vehicles are a lot less strong in first person. So what happens is you end up on foot most of the time, which is fine. But the thing about ending up on foot more time is there's higher risk, higher rewards. You get in more fights. You have to take more fights to get certain spots. And if a game is inconsistent with 10 frames, those fights don't even become a matter of skill anymore. It's just a matter of who has the higher frames. Like for instance, in the tournament that we played the other day, there's another really good North American team that we fought and killed, and we peeked over a mountain. We peeked over a hill, killed them, and we were at 10 frames, and because their back was turned to the 10 USs behind them, they had 100 frames. And it's like, I don't know. Like in third person, you could peek over, see your frame spiking, you might not want to take the fight. I can go more in depth about why third person is better.
So your argument, a big one of it now is it may be better eventually, but right now it's definitely not ready for.
I honestly probably will like it more later. I just think it's a beta with inside a beta. The dude is 3 foot tall and you can't even see over grass. And
so let me pivot to Chaco, who's somebody who is part of the other team, right? They're a streamer, and I'll probably bring this up after you talk a little bit about the idea of like it's more fun to cast, it's more fun to watch, it's more fun for streamers because of the action. And if that's part of why you choose it, go for it. But Chaco, why do you prefer the first person perspective?
I think it's just, even though it's clunky as hell, it is so clunky. You're right. It feels like you're 3 feet tall. I don't even notice that anymore because I played it so much. But when it first came out, I wasn't set on playing it because it was so strange. But the more I played it, the more I wanted to play it, and now I have not played third person since for a while now. I don't know. It's the third person just makes, we know all those situations where you're behind a tree, someone else is behind a tree, you're just sitting there. Pre-firing is so frustrating when you can just pre-fire someone. I used to use shotguns a lot when I played third person. I'm not using them as much anymore because in third person shotguns, when you're close, they're so broken because you can just pre-fire every time, and you can just, there's nothing the other player can do. If they're playing aggressive on you or they're close to you and you can pre-fire them, it's just a free kill. Going prone in third person, oh my god, when you can go prone and shoot like a full auto weapon from third person without ADSing, my god, what a frustrating way to die.
That's fair. So I guess my big fear with third versus first is, so, and you guys have probably heard this too, it seems like it's more fun to watch first person. The action is more intense, it's constant and stuff like that. But when I talk to regular players, I spend a lot of time on like the Reddit, Discord, talking to, normal players and casuals and things like that. It seems like a large majority of them still prefer third person. Do you think it hurts the scene if they shoehorn first person in as the hardcore players game, but most of the other 10 million players still stick to thirds?
It's possible, but I don't think that the game. Okay, so like spectating a first-person game isn't near, like spectating a third versus first isn't nearly as drastic of a change as actually playing third to first. Sure, if you're trying to watch the game and you're watching these pros to try and better your own game, it's not going to help you that much because surprisingly for such a small change, or a single change, is actually not that small. First and third are almost like completely separate games. But if you're watching a game to try and get better off of that, it's not going to do you much good. But just from an entertainment value, but you play casually in third, it's actually, I don't think, going to be that jarring for people. And for the people who are watching players to better their own game are probably the ones who are going to attempt to be the more hardcore, competitive first-person players anyway.
I agree. I do think that there is, for those of you who are watching, now I don't know, Val, you probably watch replays of your games when you get a chance to occasionally. That's the upside of getting your game cast nowadays. There's no really other way to watch a replay unless you have your Gator, or what's that, the game cap going. But even then, I was going to say GameDar, but I don't think that's a thing.
You didn't. That's not what you said.
I said GameDar. You can't prove any
you
otherwise.
Said Gator.
So anyway, it's hard to watch replays unless you're cast.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm curious about, it seems like a lot of the casters are being pulled over from games like CSGO and things like that. Cameron knows, that are used to following this FPS style of play where you're just jumping from kill to kill. But it strikes me as maybe we should look at casting this differently, because one of my favorite things about watching like pro players is the build-up phase and the positioning phase and sort of the other non-action stuff that determines a win. Because I think that, I don't know, Chaco, you kill people like it's your like insane amounts. Like when you watch his streams, it's like 14 to 20 kills. It's stupid. That said, though, I feel like a lot of games are won on the time that you're not in a fight, right? That you're choosing where to enter the circle, how to position yourself for the end game. And I miss that. I feel like when I'm watching jump to jump kill, it doesn't let me see the genius of positioning.
On the games that I commentate, at least I myself focus on the pregame, like you were talking about, and the build up and the positioning, because even when I was like going all in on Counter-Strike commentary, that would be the thing that I took the most enjoyment out of it. If you're just going on the 1Ds or the Nikos and the Olafmeisters and the Kenny S's, like that's fun and that's exciting, but if that's the only thing that you're zooming in on, then that just becomes very boring. And why aren't you just watching a matchmaking game? What makes these competitive games, what gives them even more depth outside of just strict aim shooting, is the intelligence, is almost like the metagame behind it. And so at least when I commentate these, that is something that I do have a focus on. Plus, it's almost unavoidable because the first half of the game is very little action.
So okay, you've got the opinions of, I'm an analyst, he's a caster. Chaco and Val, what do you guys, if you had to rank like the most important skills or things to win a PUBG match, like what's your number one? Is it things like flick or aim or positioning or map knowledge? Like what do you think wins games?
Map knowledge and positioning by far. It doesn't even compare, just kills. In first person, obviously you're going to have to get into more fights. But map knowledge and positioning is it. Like the way that you rotate around terrain, the way you gather information and know how to play around terrain. The whites, the let's say you're in a blue zone, the white circle might be on the opposite side of the zone. It actually might be the white zone might be 50 meters to your left. But knowing the map terrain, the information gathered, it might be the smart play to wrap all the way around to wipe this side of the circle so you could come in from the other side, just to win the game. You might have more risk, like you might get 2 to 3 more fights, but it's just a higher percentage of winning the game. Like, I don't know. As far as the casting aspect that you were saying, I do think that it is important for casters to, I guess, overhead view while people are rotating to see which compounds people take. But it's really hard to like get inside. I mean, this is going to be something that they're going to do in the future. Like as the team's rotating, like let's say in high tier tournaments, like go to LAN, like another Gamescom type thing, they might like tune into our comms and see what we're talking about before we rotate. So we're like, okay, we're going to rotate here because this, and this, and they'll get more insight on it. Because honestly, a caster can't really get that info because you have all the information. You can see where everyone's at. You can see the yellow outlines. You don't know. We're blind to like on the first rotations. You're barely blind besides where people drop in the sky, and you see exactly what compounds they land at if they have cars. But it's really hard for you guys to have the same point of view as us because you can see where everyone is. So it's not as intense. Like you're not hearing every little thing that we're saying, right, making the choice this compound. Awesome. So.
Well,
yeah.
Before we wrap this topic, Chaco, what do you think is the most important thing to winning?
Having a vehicle is my answer.
This guy loves vehicles. He loves vehicles,
yeah,
punching out windows, and shooting heads. That's like, I think that should be on your tombstone.
I really think having a vehicle is the most important thing to winning.
Having 3 vehicles.
Yeah, well, I don't play squads, so.
Oh, you play solos? Oh, yeah.
So that actually brings up an interesting. I had 2 more questions I wanted to get through. This one I'm just curious if you have an opinion. So just we can do this in like a one shot here, and that is the format for competitive play. When you're talking about tournaments and things, and Chaco, you might not have as strong of an opinion on this since you kind of prefer to stick to the streaming side of things or the solo. Do you think duo or squad is going to be the direction comp goes?
Duo. I hate squads.
Val, what do you think? I mean, I know you want it to be squads, right? Because like you have a squad.
Yeah. I don't know. Duos might be the direction they so I think squads are going to be the direction they take, just because it's a team game. You have strategy. It's just like a unit, like that. They want to make it like a military style thing. You have units. You have people hitting from compounds. You have the guy who flashes in when flashes actually work, when they actually fix them to work. So you'll have like, it's just more of the game. Like they're going to have squads taking compounds. It just looks cooler when a squad's closing in on a building. But playing duos, playing a couple, I've had like a lot of duo tournaments that I played in. It's more fun, maybe. Like you take more fights. You don't have to, it's not more stalemates because it's only 2 people you have to wipe. So it's not a full squad. So like if you scout 2 people, you don't know if the other 2 people died early unless you're keeping tabs on the kill feed and you know exactly what team is in that compound. So you can't really take a compound because there could be 2 people split up and you don't know. There's a lot less stalemates and there's a lot more action, I think, in duos. So it might be more entertaining to the viewer. I enjoy it a lot. I don't know which one they're going to pick, but I think they both have their pros and cons.
Absolutely. I mean,
I don't see why they can't do both.
Yeah, we were talking about this actually earlier with me and Cammy a little bit. Like, I feel pretty strongly that if they're going to go third person, duo might be the way to go, and if they're going to go first person, squad is the better option. Just in sake, because
that's a good point.
Squad's slow, first person makes it faster. Duos you have to fight, so third person is a little more functional in terms of drawing the action out.
So, sorry to cut you off. Something I just wanted to say that you reminded me that you said earlier was a big point that people miss and like they don't get right in it. Like they always say in first person and third person, there's going to be nonstop action. Like for instance, in first person games, you're playing high level tournaments, people are going to be fighting nonstop. There's not going to be a 20-minute stalemate phase. It's not true at all. Like I posted a picture on my Twitter about there was 66 people in the third to last circle in first person, and like multiple first person tournaments in squads, there's 60 people in the third to last circles. It's the same. It's actually more than first person because if you look at the map, it's just a ring around the map of people that are 15 meters apart and have no clue they're next to each other.
Just to kind of bounce off of that, through my just experience of spectating games, and okay, it's possible that this is just because of my own bias. It's a confirmation bias, but I really don't think so. Whenever we In fact, on the awesome event that I did a couple of weeks ago, where it was 2 third persons and immediately 2 first persons, but also just comparing how in PUBG Online, where they had the third person league and then they swapped over to first person for this, I was able to immediately see a difference every single time the swap happens from third to first. Is that you jump from more edge play around the circle to more center play, and even though more people may still be alive late into the game, there's still more map aggression, territorial aggression out of it, even if it doesn't necessarily, at least as of now, directly translate into immediate gunplay action.
Well, the same thing still happens in third person. In first person, there'll be 60 people in a zone, and then usually it's like the 4th to last zone that there's 60 people in, and then once the third zone ticks, 70 people drop to 20. That just happens. And honestly, that's just too much action for people to cash. Like, you're just looking at overhead view and you're just seeing people dropping. The casher's point of view,
yeah, it's brutal.
Like the red lights blinking, you're clicking over, like 4 monitors trying to find out who's dying. Like, it's crazy.
I will say this. It seems to me that third-person fights are more finite, or I guess more likely to finish than first-person fights are. I feel like often first-person, you kill 1 or 2 guys and the rest will just fuck off half the time. And have the ability to disappear a lot easier than when you watch third-person fights in these squad games, because there's not a lot of escaping once you engage in third person.
Yeah. I think the fights happen faster in first person, but obviously, people can escape faster. You could go prone if you're on a ridge. You could dip out because you can't see certain information. They're scared to push you.
All right. Well, but sorry. Go ahead with your last thought, and then we're gonna.
No, sorry. You could go. That was it.
We're almost out of time. I do want to ask you this, Val. What game did you come from when it came to playing pro here, or are you bred and brought up?
No. Well, as far as like the first pro, I mean, I don't know if it'd be pro. Back in the day, I don't know if anybody knows, there's a game called Guns the Duel, and I won a couple like national championships in that game. But it was like an old Korean game. It's an old game.
Oh my god, sorry.
That game's awesome.
Wave of nostalgia. Holy shit.
That game is amazing.
Oh.
It was a big game in Korea, not too much in NA and EU. But I played that. I played some Counter-Strike, and then Overwatch I played like semi-professionally. I played against like all the pro teams. So but never got signed. And then
let me ask you guys this, and you might be in the second group. There's 2, and Cameron and I were also talking about this a little bit earlier. There's 2 kinds of pro teams right now. There's the pro teams who've been picked off of first-person shooters. They're like the big dogs, right? Like Cloud9 just went out and bought a whole bunch of really good aim guys and put them together into a pretty good team. Then you've got like Noble, I think, is a team that is PUBG bred and brought up. They play best in third person. They're very strategic, not the best shots. Sorry if you're watching, guys. You're okay. You're good shots, but you're not as good as some of these other guys. But as I watch them, I can't help but wonder if these homegrown PUBG teams are going to end up dominating the scene over these sort of FPS team all-stars. It's sort of like when Dwayne Wade went to Miami, right? And you're like, hey, we got the all-stars, but eventually teams will start to beat them. Do you think that that's something that's going to happen in this? Should we continue to get big tournaments, or do you think that the all-star teams always stay at the top?
If the game goes in first person, if that's the competitive, then the shooters are going to win. I mean,
all-star teams aren't even at the top now.
So. Yeah. Wait. What'd you say about all-star teams?
They're not even at the top now.
Who are you talking about? Are you talking about like Cloud9 and TSM and them?
Like Team Liquid and TSM.
Oh yeah, no.
They're not even at the top now. They're at the top whenever you see any solos and duos, just because they can't straight up shoot. But them being shooters doesn't basically counteract the fact that they still need to work, that they still need to learn how to play as a team together. I even heard, I believe it was Hayes on stream, like admitting this, that they're all really good solos and duo players, but they have, their adjustment is learning how to play as a full squad of 4. And I think that's the case for a lot of these large teams who got big name aimers, big name streamers, as compared to the Nobles, the Ataxias, the Legions.
Yeah, we played against Hayes and I think it was Ollywood was his duo partner in the Cursed Trials tournament. They did really good. They're 2 duos teams. Like Liquid picked up 2 duos players. They weren't a squad team, so they picked up 2 duos players, put them together. They still have a lot to work on. Duos is completely different. Right. You play way more aggressive in duos. You can take a compound way easier. You just have to win up fights. You can rotate off terrain easier. I don't really know about like all-star teams. I think if it shifts over to first person, there's still a lot of tactical advantage in it. Right. Like there's still a lot of like, you have to know the map, you have to know how to rotate, but you have to take more fights. Bottom line is you have to have shooters. And if let's say Fnatic or Virtus Pro or like an insane CS team comes over and you still have a really smart player who can learn the game, they're going to be fragging out. They're going to be doing really well in first person because they know how to kill people. You're going to have to take way more risk in first person. So you're just going to get in more fights. I think in third person, without a doubt, PUBG players would dominate just because they're right off the game. They know the game. I think in first person, I still think we have a bigger chance of beating people. But I think as the game develops, maybe a year down the road, a year and a half down the road, once like FPS players come into the game, it might be harder, and you might need a squad of just killers.
Fair. It takes 5,000 hours to master aim. It only takes about 600 to master the map. So that does make sense. All right, guys, that's about all the time that we have for tonight. I like to end with a lightning round question. This is very simple. I ask one question, and you just tell me fair, unfair, get it out of the game, whatever your quick thought is on it. So here's the lightning round question. Jump, crouch, keybind. Yes, no, you're a pansy if you use it, or you're just being smart. Valiant, what do you think?
They should be out of the game. I just took mine like 2 days ago and just put it just to have it so it's 100%. But honestly, it's just a skill that they dumb down so everybody now once they added that, people are just flying through windows left and right. It's like I think they should take it out though.
Jake, what do you think?
Take it out. I think take it out. I think why don't they just make it so you can jump and then hold crouch and then that's a crouch jump? That's what they need to do.
It's this 3-button combo or whatever it is. It's just
okay.
Stupid, but I'm with you. But yeah, no, it makes sense. Cameron, what do you think?
I mean, I think if you can't hit space and C with a single thumb, then like you have more things to worry about in this game.
Okay, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work every time.
It's inconsistent.
Hit it. Have better timing on when you hit the button.
Okay.
No, but also I think this may be a moot point anyway because vaulting when it does get introduced is gonna completely adjust.
Yeah, in 2026
there will never be vaulting.
Yes.
I'm saying it now. No vaulting. It's not coming.
Yeah, he talked about it. I think Andrew mentioned it on his Twitter that it's a really difficult thing for them to put in because of the way the game's designed.
I did a whole interview with 2 of the developers at Gamescom about it.
Did you lean on?
What'd they say? Were they?
No, they were just going through how it was when they originally announced their plans to do it. They didn't realize how big of a thing that it was going to be. How big of an undertaking it was going to be, and so that's why it's not coming out on the original timetable that they had initially set. But I really do think that whether or not fine. The argument on it coming out at all, that whole meme aside, vaulting is going to completely adjust how any of this crouch jumping stuff works anyway.
But for now, it seems like all 3 of you are against it. I myself am for it because I am for the common man. If you are listening and you are the common man, I am for you, and I support the keybind. Because not all of us are as good as these guys here. We need every bit we can get. When Chaco's chasing me through a house, I better be able to fucking jump through a window. That's all I can say.
I won't be able to do it. I mean, but I'm not using the bind.
Well, it doesn't matter. Yeah. You'll shoot me as I run away at 200 meters anyway with some ridiculous pistol shot. Absolutely ridiculous. That said, I was good. I don't want to go too much over. I want to keep this compact, so I appreciate you guys being here. Let's go around and give a chance to do any plugs, your Twitter accounts, what you're working on. Any way that we can support you. We'll start with Cam. We'll just move around the circle. Cam?
Pretty basic. You can follow me on Twitter if you want to keep up with all the things that I do. I currently commentate for a couple of Battlegrounds organizations, namely PUBG Online, as well as Awesome here with Toffees. But also I'm just always looking for multiple opportunities in that space. So if you want to keep up with what I'm doing, just follow me on Twitter. That's usually the best way.
Val?
Same thing. Valiate. It's Tempo Valiate on Twitter. My Twitch is just Valiate as it is now. My Twitter game is pretty weak right now. I only have like 300 followers. So hopefully I could work that up a little bit, but that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for having me on.
No problem. And Jake?
Yeah, just follow me on Twitch, Twitch/ChacoTaco. I stream pretty much every day. Not that much right now, but hopefully in the future, maybe more. And I do a lot of commentary while I play, so hopefully I'm helping people get better. So.
And you can find him at Chaco Taco Games if you guys are listening on just the podcast without the video. At Tempo Valiant, at Cammie D with 3 M's, and at Toffees TV. And I can vouch for Chaco. He's one of the few guys who actually narrates effectively. I started watching you because I got tired of like not hearing while people were making. I love decisions. You know what I mean? It's just my favorite thing in the world of knowing why you make a choice that you do. So keep that up. It's very good, guys. I do want to give a shout out real quick to 2 people that made the show possible. A week ago, this show was called Out of the Blue. And the overlays and everything were made. Somebody else released a podcast 2 days before we went live that was called Out of the Blue. Nothing, no hard feelings. I totally respect that they got to market before I did. That said, a gentleman named EasyCo Mac made all the logos pro bono because I had spent my money on the other logos already. And a guy named Aether from Awesome made the overlays that we're using. So everybody sort of donated their time and their work to create this. So thank you for doing that very quickly so we could keep the show sort of on schedule. Asus Republica Gamers and Razer for my computer and the peripherals. That's how you say it, I think, that we use to play the game. So kudos and appreciation to them. And of course, to you guys for listening. If you are listening, like the podcast, give us some comments, some stars, all that fun stuff. It helps keep it going. We're on Stitcher. We're also on iTunes. Just look up the Dropcast or the Drop, and it should pop up right away. Big shout out to that. We'll be on YouTube as well. And if you like the show, you can support it by going to patreon.com/Toffees. Long story short, it costs about $40 a month to keep the show up and running. If you want to help pay for that, you can. Then once that happens, pretty much everything else just goes to production teams and graphics and making fancy things that make it look or sound even cooler. So if you guys have been around with my other shows, you know that that's what we love to invest in. Toffees love sparkly graphics, and I want to buy more. So go support us at patreon.com/Toffees, and don't forget to check out our streamers. It's been wonderful spending the evening with you. I hope that you enjoyed the show. I'll be back next week. Gentlemen, you were amazing guests. Anytime that you want to come back, feel free to. Just let me know. I'm doing the show once a week, and I'm scheduling it around the times of the guests. So we're pretty wide open. So if you had a good time, want to come back, just let me know. If not, I guess I'll find somebody else. But at the end of the day, it was fun. So guys, thanks for watching. Have a wonderful evening. Play more PUBG. And as always, Toffees out.
Are we clear? I don't know.